This is Branko Malic of Kali Tribune with a State of the Yuga address to all the readers, listeners, and in any way consumers of intellectual media material Kali Tribune produces. This podcast uh, will serve to give you some heads up as to what you are to expect in the following year by Kali Tribune. The direction in which this site will be going and the themes that will be explored on its pages in podcasts, articles, and such. I'm afraid to say this in advance that Kali Tribune, that means me and some of my associates who collaborate on occasion with KaliTribune.com, will shortly be going against the grain in what we call alternative or independent media, something I deeply regret because it will put me in a quite an awkward position of doing things mostly alone. Namely, as a good deal of people following Kali Tribune know, this year was marked the I would say a substantial demise of mainstream media, in the sense that mainstream media in the whole Western world and probably in the East too, but we are concerned with the West because West is dominating everything right now still, have completely lost its bearings and in effect became a rather uninteresting target for criticism. I would say that the idea of anti-fake news campaign that was epitomized by Washington Post supported internet platform called Propaganda or Not was a rock bottom of mainstream media. Maybe nail in the coffin of it, because it was kind of intelligence operation run by elementary school kids or people with mentality and skills of elementary school kids. And everybody is very happy about this in this emerging and slowly consolidating alternative media. I was not very much elated by it because that was a trajectory mainstream was going anyway, and it rendered it uninteresting for criticism because they are too easy to criticize. Everybody sees that they lost their bearing, that they failed to do anything but warmongering and Russia blaming and such things that are really on the level of McCarthyism of the 50s. Throughout the world. The situation is a little better in Eastern Europe, where mainstream media, however bad they are not so much manipulated as American and British. But here we are, and my insight that drives me on in this research is that alt media are not so much better than mainstream media in their essence. They can be, that is to say, they are not altogether instrument of conscious instrument of policy of some power block, which mainstream media are, but they are made of men and women, and they are produced by men and women who are fallible, of course, and who are unfortunately as a kind of loose alliance of people that are against the establishment in some way are going, in my opinion and to my intuition, going completely the wrong way. So in the future, Kali Tribune will be devoted, among other things, to criticism and analysis or the coding of media, as we have done in previous 2 years of existence of this site. But now the analysis, the coding, criticism will be of mostly of alternative media themselves, to which Kali Tribune to some extent belongs. And this is not an easy decision, of course, because this is in effect going against the grain, but there is no other way, because if I would keep silent about what I see, I would not be worthy of your attention at all. And if I insult somebody, and I probably will, uh, I want just to say and to remind you that that I don't do this because I like it, because I don't like debates, I don't like clashes, whether I win or lose, never mind, better win, of course. I don't like dissent, I like consent, I like agreement, but the truth, sometimes the truth compels you to go in dissent and disagreement, even with people you like. One of the reasons for this is, in my opinion, that alternative media has been, let's say, pervaded and imbibed with ideas that can be defined as, on the one hand, neo-paganism and neo-satanism, which are not the same thing but can be combined if need be by their proponents, and so-called alternative right ideas, and above all the Russian state media. Now, I don't adhere to the idea that Russians hacked American elections. American elections are hacked by losers of those elections. That is to say, what Americans call liberals, who are such such conglomerate of idiots that they practically destroy themselves. And left has this, especially far left, has this propensity of self-destruction, and this is, in my opinion, the real hack of the elections. But that being said, the Russian websites, the Russian state TV, at least partly state-owned TV, Russia Today, is media that are pushing the Russian foreign policy. I have some sympathies for this foreign policy, but I'm not Russian, and Kali Tribune is not Russian media. So when there is some words you will never hear on Kali Tribune. One of them, that someone is Russophobic, because I started to radically criticize in my writing, for instance, this losing left, social justice warriors and others, some 5 or 6 years ago, when they started to use these phobia terms as homophobic, xenophobic, and so on, because I sensed that those are code words and blanket terms to stifle dissent. Calling somebody Russophobic already reeks of this. It reeks of political correctness, but political correctness that is not from the establishment left, but non-establishment, left, right, and center. I don't belong there, and that this is something that kicks in the red light for me, and I will probably be going against the grain in this matter. To be precise, the thing Kali Tribune will explore the most in this season of our dear Kali Yuga, this next 2017 year of our budding millennium, will be the principle of chaos. This principle of chaos is starting to be a prominent feature of our age. It is the carrying principle of this age, in my opinion, and is contradictory in the sense that it can carry and support nothing, it can only undermine. The other is that it cuts both ways, left, right, center, everywhere. The symbol of chaos is eight-pointed star. That is to say, that's one of the symbols that is used. It's mostly used, and it is very prominent in Alexander Dugin, and much more maybe among his followers, because Alexander Dugin and his associates have some kind of Boy Scouts, Euroasian youth. There is traditionalist youth movement, I think, in America, and they sport this completely modern symbol and this completely modern principle. But I won't be so much concentrating on Dugin. I already said what I have to say about him. I can say a lot about his, for instance, his background and mentality, which I think I understand all too well, because in a sense I come from the part of the world where there were a lot of wannabe Dugins in post-communist era, so he is not so much alien to me in his mentality. I despise him to the bottom of my heart because he is the man in possession of true intelligence, applying it to despicable ends. So I am afraid I can give him nor his adherents no quarter, nor would I expect quarter from them. But Dugin is by far not the only one, and there is a loosely knit network of what we could call alt-right, post-Nazi, and neo-Satanists, as they like to call themselves, a left-hand path. Thinkers, websites, forums, and political organizations at which I stumbled upon and gave them some thought. I will devote my work in the next year as much as time provides from my other obligations in life, as making money and so on, because Kali Tribune is not still not a project you can make a living on. I will devote my time and my focus to them. To give you an example, you will find on Kali Tribune this article, and there is an audio podcast of it called devoted to the so-called god of Kek, because some leader of alt-right, Richard Spencer, and he is an acclaimed reader, and he deserves to be a political leader, because he's capable of taking the rap for all alt-right. I give him that. He's got he takes responsibility for this movement. He came out with this idea that Trump was memed or imagined into existence by alt-right aficionados, and this is a statement of so-called chaos magic, to use a blanket term. And this is a statement that relies upon assumption that imagination can create the world. To be even more precise, that through sinking into a causal sphere, you can make changes in a causal sphere. This means that you can make so-called, what Carl Gustav Jung called, synchronicities. And synchronicities are events that are not causally related, but are meaningfully related, and in fact represent correspondences of subjective expectations and objective events. And there is a whole, by writing this article that you can read, or you can listen to its audio version, I made a contention that this invocation of frog god Kek and meme magic that produced it is in fact a reality insofar as something so subjective as a reality of synchronicity can be called reality. I don't consider that it is reality in a substantial sense. I think it's a dissolution of reality, making reality dissolving reality, making illusional reality, but illusion that can act upon us, that can have a real effects in the world. And I think that this, in fact, is possible. And I don't think that Richard Spencer was entirely joking when he said that they memed Donald Trump into office. I think to an extent they did, because in this chaos magic way of thinking, you are dealing with reality tunnels because nothing is true, as they say, and nothing is real, but subjective decision and disposition of causes and effects makes a reality tunnel your private reality tunnel of if you are a member of identity group as alternative right, you are making alternative right reality tunnel in or echo chamber in which Donald Trump really is memed into existence by you. How is this all possible? I don't think it is logically possible, yet it happens. And this is something that is, in my opinion, an illusion, but an illusion that can affect reality, because illusion is not simply nothingness, it's a nothingness posing as being. In this sense, this principle of chaos is starting to rule our world. I see it in my own country, in the little town I live in, where we are half jokingly trying to elect a local guy who is a bit mentally impaired, but is very good man, very funny guy, to elect him as a mayor, because mayor we have right now is unbelievable crook for everybody not from Eastern Europe. You wouldn't believe uh, what kind of people can rule at local level in these parts of the world. Anyway, I noticed this idea. I, of course, took this all as a joke, but I noticed that my fellow men here are only half joking, as much as very similarly as Spencer was half joking when he said that they maimed Keck into existence, because this is becoming the principle of joke, of laughing, of irony, of satire, making everything into satire, electing a joker to be president, making a fool a king. This is also, I think, by the principle of chaos, because and this is in its essence, I'd say, diabolical, because it removes seriousness where seriousness is due. And I was inspecting some internet forums as 8chan and 4chan, where these ideas about meme magic came about, and I see that there are a lot of very young people, very intelligent and uh, mentally ill people. In my opinion, mentally ill, but not in the sense that they are diseased, but because their minds are warped beyond repair, who are really thinking, contemplating strategies of changing the world by their memes and by their chaos magic. And they are mostly post-Nazis, that is to say, people who take Nazism as a fashion statement, and who look upon Nazism and write these radical chauvinist ideas as in an idealized, romanticized sense. And this is something that will mold the bulk of alt media, as much as I can see from here. This grieves me immensely, immensely, because I don't fit into this. And so you will encounter a lot of material on those things, and I think that chaos magic and alt-right and this rise to prominence of alt media is also one component or one segment of this push to make a world post-human. I will elaborate on those ideas, of course. Post-humanism, in my way of thinking, is not really this idea of merging people with technology, but of making human mind, a computer. And those people, as much as I can see, are thinking in these categories with these ideas of creating identities and so on. It all gives me a clear insight that they really have no identity and no chance of ever having it, because they are so divorced from their origins, that I really don't see how they can reattach to anything anymore, because you must reattach, not create. Reattach. You can't create tradition, you can't create belonging. You must reattach to this. And for people in the far west, as it were, in America and so on, I think it's very difficult thing to do. So you have this race ideas of this spirituality of race, of racism, metaphysical racism, of alt-right. For instance, Richard Spencer was defended by many people in my circles for his speech, where they attacked him from this Heil Trump and so on. I read the transcript of a speech, and I read few of other his speeches. I read a lot of material about Spencer. He is not only he's post-Nazi. He's as much as Nazi as Green Day are punk rock band. That's that type of Nazi. But he is, and he loves this um, Nazi fashion. He can't help himself to give cues from time to time, because he would, I think, be happiest in walking in SS uniform. Not because he would send people to death camps. Maybe he would, but I think as a fashion statement, he's very fashy. I've considered this abhorrent, and I consider this very anti-traditional, very anti-reality to some extent. So there will be a lot about this, and I think this will not make me popular, any more popular with people already following me. I think the Kali Tribune will lose some affiliates and some readers and listeners, to which I'm sorry, but this is the way it will go. The other thing is that alternative media is really being infused by these ideas of so-called left-hand path. This left-hand path is a postmodern invention. It's a neo-Satanism. Satanism proper, in my opinion, is perversion of institutionalized, legitimate, traditional religion. It can be, I know about Catholic-based Satanism that perverts the mass, and that is really concentrated upon the real being of adversary, of devil, in effect. And it is, I think, very rare occurrence. You can only hear rumors within rumors about it. I do believe its existence, uh, because let's stay at this. I do believe, but this neo Satanism, which is whose adherent is Alexander Dugin, the other one being a prominent one, Kerry Bolton from New Zealand, is a completely different thing. It's a kind of situationist movement, and some kind of syncretic combination of very shallow ideas from Ayn Rand to Aleister Crowley, and it relies on extreme individualism. It is, I think, in a roundabout way, a good path to actual Satanism, because it is based upon principle of ego, of egoism, and it is in its essence evil in its adolescent kind of thinking. So it can lead you to something more mature if you persevere very probably, although I think for Satanism proper you need to get to these elite circles, and it is in a way, perverse way, traditional. As traditional religions, there are lineages probably of people who can initiate other people into this, and not probably, and luckily not many people can became the saints of Satan, because he has his saints as God has his. This is as for Dugin's Satanism. I heard people say that Dugin changed his way. I don't believe for 1 second that if you are doing something from your youngest age to your maturity, that you can just lose it. I know that it seems normal to Americans, which find no qualms about changing even 4 to 5 religious religions till they are 40. I noticed that. I couldn't believe it's possible. So they probably take it as granted that somebody like Dugin, for instance, can be completely, complete professed Satanist and chaos thinker and doer, and second man, the Merlin, as he liked to define himself, of National Bolshevik group of idiots and cultural and aspiring terrorists and troublemakers in the 90s, and that he can now be some Orthodox Christian, Russian Orthodox, seamlessly sink into this. This is simply not possible. This does not happen, or if it happens, that man would have to renounce 20 years of his life, and to renounce them with great pains. He renounced nothing. Dugin, when you take a look at his cold blue eyes, is not a man who suffers a lot. He seems quite comfortable with himself. So this is no religion. Religion is not something you can just change at will, or because you are not intellectually satisfied with it anymore. This is preposterous. This means that you have no religion at all, in my opinion. But Dugin is less interesting to me than another luminary you can find in alt media, New Zealander Kerry Bolton, who also had his own Order of the Left Hand Path, whose grandmaster he was, and I think that he was, by all accounts, still from the 70s to the mid 90s, a man who gave much thought and much effort to fusing Satanism, because he was a professed Satanist and ritual Satanist of this postmodern left-hand path Satanism, and National Socialism, which he takes in some kind of romanticized, idealized way of looking at it as a possible bridge between this Satanist individualism and some kind of collective identity, as they like to call this. So, in example, you come to conclusion that they are trying to construct a theory of individual that is satanic, and then develop idea of society that is also satanic, because they pick the worst they can. Because National Socialism, I mean, well, it's very hard to morally justify anything in National Socialism. And you have a great example of alternative news or alternative media outlet being completely taken over by those guys. This Red Ice creation of Henrik Palmgren and his lady associate, and which is practically post-Nazi neo-pagan, neo-pagan. How would I call it? Kindergarten. Kindergarten for psychopathic children of the West. And it's a pitiful, for instance, because Palgram is a very good radio host. But anyway, I don't think he's a bad man, but he's been his mind has been warped completely, and this is something which is inexcusable. And Kerry Bolton is, as I said, a very good example because he is now Christian, supposedly, and he's a very good writer, and he writes for Katehon. That's a, they call it a think tank. That's Russia based, but internationally networked series of websites. There is Katehon for Serbia, there is Katehon for here or there, and people like Bolton and Dugin are prominent there. And I see a lot of people in alt media, and by them I think those who are pretty well educated, falling for the stuff they've been writing. Well, I can just say that Kerry Bolton has a history of imbibing people with a political ideology through ideas, because he, as it were, used Satanism to imbibe the followers of his, for instance, Order of the Left Hand path with Nazi, or what he considered to be Nazi politics. That's something Dugin does also, because those people here are not philosophers, they are not religious, they are not people who deal in ideas. They deal with radical, they are political radicals, extreme political radicals, and if you look at their biographies, it is completely plain to see. And they are very apt, especially Dugin, in painting this radical politics as a philosophy. It is not philosophy. He can change philosophical ideas on a whim if it suits him, because it's not about truth, it's not about beauty, it's not about reality, it's about political action, and this political action is always directed in the 8 pointed directions of chaos. This is chaos politics, and this is completely plain to see. And but I think a lot of people in the West don't want to see this. And so there will be a lot more talk. There will be some talk about Kerry Bolton, because he is interesting, merely because how to show how can you pose as a Christian and traditionalist, in fact, been complete anti-Christian, because Bolton was a man that changed many religious confessions. I will not go into detail here, but I can say that he was at one point a Mormon, he was Satanist, the Grand Master of this neo-Satanist order, but then also Mormon, but some kind of Christian, pseudo-Christian church, and then he ended up, I think now he's like Catholic and so on. And I see that in the West people don't see a problem with that. Well, that's because West has a huge problem. If you think that you can just slip from religions like that, then it means you have a great problem. That means that no religion ever penetrated your heart, that you might as well be heartless. but we'll see. So that will be one of the directions of analysis that Kali Tribune will take. So there will be much of the construction of alt-right, because alt-right is a sphere where those ideas are very prominent, and we'll try to focus somewhat on this youth culture on internet forums, because those were all fringe ideas. Dugin, Bolton, and such people were completely fringe. In late 80s and 90s, Dugin rose to prominence in the later 90s by his connections with Russian army via mostly Alexander Prokhanov and so on. I would not go in details here. And they are very apt at networking, and they do. There is this term fascist international flying about, and rarely with good evidence about its existence. I think I could provide at least an ideological level that is there is not fascist international but chaos international. It's a more appropriate term. And there are clear parallels, and there is clear collaboration, and there is a clear adherence to chaos, to devil, quite explicitly, and the subversion of tradition or traditionalism, be it traditionalism of what René Guénon was writing, be it real tradition of religious people, from usually from this from the angle of some Eastern Orthodox churches, Russian Church, and so on, but Catholicism also, and Islam. And those people like Dugin and Bolton have no religion. They are anti-religion. They are anti-metaphysics. They are political radicals with political theology, because all theology and metaphysics for them is political. That's why they can change it on a whim, because they change everything in their approach except their politics. And they are very consequent. For instance, Dugin is very, very consequent guy. From his early youth till now, you can see the clear continuity of this radically destructive political impulse, completely nihilistic. And he only changed his ideological garb now with this fourth political theory and his rise to prominence. And I think, to conclude, to my Western readers or listeners, I must say that naivete of Americans is the most charming and most lovable feature of American people. But on the other hand, and at the same time, it is downright frightening, and I really downright frightening, because the ideas and the people that would have been smelled out by any peasant in Eastern Europe, they fall American intellectuals that can be really brilliant and morally righteous people fall for them like in a second. And that's something I really cannot fathom. That's so defeating. So this was State of the Yuga, not to say State of the Nation address on behalf of Goddess Kali. On behalf of Kali Tribune for the next year, I hope I will not disappoint. Kali Tribune won't disappoint you, but as I said, you can expect some tendencies that will move this site probably completely against the grain of what are now alternative media or independent media on internet. This was Branko Malic. Thank you for your attention.